I'm really excited to introduce Jeannie Bowen. Jeannie is a senior performance advisor here at Results Washington. You know, she is a master at strategic planning, human-centered design, continuous improvement. And she's also very crafty and has a wonderful eye for design. So we're just super excited to have her here to share her tips and tricks that she's learned throughout her career on how to power up your PowerPoint presentations. So, Jeannie, thank you so much and take it away.
Thank you so much, Teresa. And I feel like you're overselling me here somewhat. I wouldn't say I'm a complete expert here in PowerPoint, and I feel like my eye for design is a good eye at copying what other people have come up with. But I started learning a lot more about PowerPoint about 5 years ago. We had someone come to our team, Rachel Jennings, shout out to her. I don't know if she's on the call today, who brought with her she has the eye for design. Let me tell you, she comes up with these ideas in her head and then she figures out how to make them come to life. And she started creating PowerPoints on our team that were beyond what any of us were used to or had ever seen. And it really encouraged me to level up my game. I looked like I was drawing a kindergartner drawing next to a Monet here. And so I was like, if I can even be 75% of what Rachel can do, then I'll feel a lot better about my own PowerPoints. And so what I have learned, it's taken me a while. I've had to practice, and I've gotten better and better over the years. So keep in mind if you're starting out, if you considered yourself a beginner, it really is a journey and it's just time and practice to increase your skills. So this presentation is designed to give you some tips and tricks for using PowerPoint so you can get the most out of your presentations. And I also, for those of you who are advanced or expert, we're looking forward to maybe being able to learn from you as well. I certainly can't cover everything about PowerPoint in a half an hour, so we're going to make some choices as we go along today. I have broken this presentation down into sections, and we're going to do a poll at the beginning of each section to see what you're most interested in. These slides are dense, and I know that breaks a lot of PowerPoint rules, but what I really wanted was for you to have a takeaway with all the instructions on how to do these things. And so all of the content is either on the slide or in the slide notes. There's copious slide notes so that you can use this as a resource to go back to. So you don't have to worry about furiously taking notes as we move through today. It's all there for you. And so that's kind of the outline for today. We're going to be moving through a couple of different tips and tricks I've learned that I feel like have been the ones I rely on most, the ones I keep going back to that have helped me out moving forward with my PowerPoints. So before we dive in, we really need to ensure that we are following the rules. It's important to acknowledge some key constraints that we have. So while I'll be sharing a variety of resources that I've personally used, it's crucial that you confirm you have the appropriate permissions to use these materials. Always ensure you have approval from your supervisor and IT department before using or downloading any external web content. I'm not giving you permission, I'm just giving you some options. So make sure you get the appropriate permissions before you use anything. I'll also introduce several excellent sources for free visuals, but it's important to note that many of these require you to attribute the artist. So be mindful of this when you're incorporating visuals into your work. And additionally, depending on how widely your PowerPoint will be distributed, it may be necessary to consult with your communications team. Be sure to follow your organization's policies in this regard. And lastly, don't forget that your organization may have specific branding standards that you'll need to adhere to. So be sure to review those before finalizing your design. And so while this presentation won't delve into accessibility in detail, it's important to recognize its significance from the start. There are plenty of resources available to help you ensure your presentation is accessible, and I've concluded some great links here for you and some of our own Results Washington Community of Practice presentations from previous times are great resources, and I've noted them there. The key takeaway is that considering accessibility early in the design process will save you time and effort in the long run. It can be really challenging to go back after completing your presentation to run the accessibility checker. By building accessibility into your presentation from the beginning, you'll avoid unnecessary revisions and make the process much smoother. So with that being said, we're going to go into setting up your PowerPoint. This is one of our segments. So we're going to launch a poll for you about what you're most interested in learning about with setting up your PowerPoint to work for you. Talia, do we have the poll ready? Okay, there we go. Here's your poll. Are you most interested in how to select slide size, how to choose the right fonts, choosing the right font size, or creating your color palette in PowerPoint? How is the poll looking?
Poll is looking good. It looks like we have about 73% of participation. Right now, it looks like 59% of folks are really interested in creating your color palette, followed by 35% of folks with choosing the right fonts.
Okay. I think let's stop the poll now and let's see where we're at. Okay, 59% want to know more about your color palette. Okay, so that's what we'll focus on for today. And for the rest of you, this information on these other topics are right here for you. So we have how to select the right side slide with all the information on here for you and a bunch of slide notes. We also have the right fonts, a lot of information here for you, and a lot of information in the slide notes, and choosing the font size, some great information here for you, and more information in the slide notes. So for those of you who chose those, feel free to go back to this presentation afterwards and get the content that I would have delivered. So let's focus on choosing and creating our color palette for your presentation. So color plays a huge role in setting the tone and making your content visually appealing. It's important to pick the right colors and choose them and use them effectively. So we want to first start by determining your color palette. A great place to begin is by using your organization's branding colors. If you're working on an organization-wide presentation, it's important to stay consistent with your brand's established color scheme. But if you're using images or graphics in your presentation, you can gather inspiration from those as well. So let's look at the colors in our visuals here and pull from them to create a cohesive look. So here I have how to create your custom color palette. And what we want to do is we want to draw, this is what I do anyway. I draw several squares using the shape function in PowerPoint. And then I use my eyedropper tool to go into my visuals and copy the colors from my visuals into the color palette. And so I'm going to pull over my real PowerPoint here, my real one, but the one that's not in the presentation mode. Oops, sorry. And try to kind of do a walkthrough with you on this. And so each one of these here are a square. And so I come up here to my insert tab. one. There we go. And I go into my shapes and I choose a square. And I create a square here. And then this is the visual that I'm using to kind of help create color palette for this presentation. So I come up here to my shape fill, and I have that shape format tab opens up when you've clicked on your shape. So you can see it's clicked on, it's outlined here. And I come to my eyedropper and I find the color that I'm interested in and I click there. And now I have a shape that has the exact color of the visual that I've used. And sorry if I'm looking away, I have to look at my other screen. So now I have my color here, and I can do this so on and so forth with all the other colors that I want to add to my palette. And so when I have my shape color figured out here, I'm now going to go up to my shape fill again, but I'm going to go to more fill colors. And I'm going to click here and I'm going to copy this hex code right here. You have your red, blue, green, but that's kind of more difficult to use than the hex code. So I just copy it, I copy. And then when I go to my shape, I can paste this hex code into my shape. And now I have the exact color coding of this color in my shape. And I do that so on and so forth. And I'm going to go over some additional content right now, and then we're going to kind of come back to this as I move to the next slide. So that is how I start to create my color palette for my slides. I also want to let you know that you can get a lot of inspiration from determining your color palette from these websites right here. Coolers is a great one, as is Canva Colors, Adobe Color, Design Seeds, and I threw in here the accessible color palette builder, which means once you have your colors and your hex codes, you can go here and you can put your color palette into this, and then it will show you all the color combinations that are accessible, which is really cool. All right, so now we've created our squares and we've determined our color palette. So let's now move to our next slide. So I've enlarged these just a little bit here. And so we want to preload these into our slide so that we can get the most out of these. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to the Design tab. And if you go past all your different various PowerPoint default designs that they have for you and past these colors here, there's this drop-down menu over here, and you can click on colors. And if you move over here, there's a lot of pre-fabbed color palettes for you. It's a great way to choose a color palette as well. But we're going to come down here to customize colors, and we're going to put in our own color palette. And so when you do this, you get this that comes up. And so I can move this like just over here. And so for this accent, if you click on this, you go in here and you can click more colors. And then guess what? You have your hex code right here, right? And now you can just put that hex code right in there and click OK. And it will set this accent color to the color of your choice for your custom palette. And you go ahead and you do that all the way down with all the colors that you have chosen, and you end up with a custom color palette. Name it, give it a name, and then you save it. And so what that allows you to do then is that when you're in your shape, so to speak, anything that you have that you want to color and customize, your font or anything like that, you click on this and you can go up here. And when you click on shape fill or outline fill, here's your custom palette right here. And what that gives you is all the gradients related to your custom palette. So maybe you want a really light gradient because you want it as a slide background color, but you want it to really tie in and match. That's great. Or maybe you need a darker combination than what you put in there so you can have that contrast for accessibility. And those are already in here too. So that with putting your custom color palette into your PowerPoint, you're able to really use the whole spectrum of the colors that you put in to kind of do some different things with your color palette. And that really helps you also when you import designs or shapes and stuff or from a different PowerPoint. Say you have something from this other PowerPoint that somebody else has done that you saved that you thought was really great, and you want to take that and import it into your PowerPoint. If you do it in such a way that with the paste options that preserve um, the formatting of your current PowerPoint, then all the colors change to match. It's magic. And so this is one of the things that I use and rely on really heavily when I'm designing PowerPoints is to create my custom color palette in PowerPoint. All right. So the other things in this section are about how to preload your fonts and your font colors and not colors, your font styles and your font sizes also in PowerPoint so that it defaults to that, just like your color palette defaults, which makes having those things set up in your PowerPoint to begin with allows your PowerPoint to work for you and saves you a lot of time in the long run. So let's go ahead and move forward to our next section, which is PowerPoint design, coming up with how to design your PowerPoint. So here's our second poll. What would you like to know most? Effective use of color in presentations, choosing free graphics, finding your inspiration, or great design practices? Mm-mm. I cannot see the poll, so I do not know. Doesn't come up for me on my end that way.
So far, so good, Jeannie. It looks like right now we have about 74% participation, with 72% of folks looking forward to great design practices,
Okay.
followed by 38% choosing free graphics.
Okay. Great. So let's go on and let's talk about some great design practices. And again, moving through our PowerPoint here, effective use of color, it's here for you with a couple of different links that you can go back to and take a look at and everything in the slide notes. And then choosing free graphics, I've got all these links to different places with free graphics. Again, just make sure you have permission to download and all right here with more information about each one of these in the slide notes. Finding your inspiration, just talking about where you can get some great information with additional content in the slide notes. And so here we are up to great design practices. So great design isn't just about making slides look pretty, it's about organizing your content in a way that's both visually appealing and easy for your audience to understand. Design principles like the golden ratio or Fibonacci sequence can help you create balanced, harmonious compositions by guiding where to place elements. Harmony and repetition help create consistency and flow, making your design feel cohesive. Grouping elements helps organize content logically while deciding between symmetrical or asymmetrical balance, allows you to create either a more formal, structured look or a dynamic, modern one. Another key element is visual hierarchy, which guides the viewer's eyes through the slide in a logical order based on size, position, and importance of elements. And lastly, visual echoes are subtle repetitions of shapes or colors, create a sense of unity, and reinforce the design. By applying these principles, you can create slides that are both functional and aesthetically pleasing, leading to clear communication and more engaging presentations. I got all of these design principles from taking a class that was offered through South Puget Sound Community College on design. And so that is where this content is coming to you from. So let's take a look at these design principles in action. So the Fibonacci sequence here can be applied to your slide layout. In this example, I've overlaid the Fibonacci sequence, which is often referred to as the golden ratio, onto one of the slides well, we haven't discussed it, but one of the slides in the slide deck. The Fibonacci sequence follows a specific pattern and is known for creating balanced, aesthetically pleasing compositions. As you can see, the spiral guides your eye toward the most important elements of the slide, helping to ensure that key information is placed in positions where your audience will naturally focus. By aligning elements along the curve of the sequence or within its boxes, we can create a visually balanced layout that feels natural and harmonious. So I default to the Fibonacci sequence when I'm kind of stumped about how to put my slide together. Like I know I have a lot of content and I'm like, how do I segment this out? How do I create something that's not overwhelming? What do I do? I come back to Fibonacci sequence over and over again. And so the Fibonacci sequence actually has like a ratio that's a lot like pi. It's like 1.6 and then it goes on and on and on and on and on. But kind of an easy way to think about it is in thirds. And so when you think about your face, your forehead is about 1/3 of your face, and then the rest of your face is about 2/3. And so that 1/3, 2/3 ratio is really aesthetically pleasing to people. So this doesn't exactly follow that. I think 1/3 would be maybe more here, but I've kind of gone with 2/3, here and trying to guide your eye here to this content right here in the middle. And then I come up over here um, with the tip piece, which is intended to be about 2/3, and then the rest of the third down at the bottom of the how to. And then if you were to keep going, you kind of circle inward with that 1/3, 2/3 and repeat it. I just kind of have this quote box down the bottom. It kind of extends beyond what a Fibonacci sequence would have it do, but I needed the space. But this is how I actually used the Fibonacci sequence to try to figure this slide and several slides like it. So that's kind of how you use the Fibonacci sequence. It's not something you need to do on every slide, but it's a great tool to keep in mind when trying to design a layout that's both pleasing to the eye and effective in directing attention to the most important areas of the slide. All right. Now let's take a look at the other design practices. In showing visual hierarchy, I have created fonts sizing down from the top towards the bottom of the content. So my slide title is bigger, followed by my headers, consider your needs, consider your target audience, with the content underneath those headers being slightly smaller. And so I'm using this visual hierarchy to guide your eye to the most important pieces and help your brain organize the content on this slide. Grouping elements can be done such as placing examples under the heading. And so I have my heading and then I have my examples underneath that. So you can see this as a group and you understand that these examples are related to the header. With harmony repetition with the theme and color icons, every time I provided a tip in this presentation, I used this little light bulb icon, and every time I provided a how-to, I used this little bell icon. So that's kind of how I did harmony repetition throughout my slide design. With the visual echoes, I used colors of the type font and quotation marks matching the theme colors to kind of create that cohesive look and include those visual echoes. And then lastly, symmetry gives you that order and predictability. And here I have these blocks here that are very, they're clean-sided. It gives you order and predictability about where you're going to find information. But the asymmetry comes in with the visual that I chose. And that kind of denotes a little bit of motion and provides that creativity and intrigue. So that's how I've used these design principles in this PowerPoint. So we're up to our next section, tips and tricks. We have another poll for you. Do you want to learn most about how to isolate your images, meaning you have maybe a scene and you just want to pull out a couple of elements out of that? Do you want to learn how to align your images and really get that snapped in, crisp look? Do you want to know how to set your shape size or how to group images so that they move in your PowerPoint together as a group?
Got some responses coming in hot, Jeannie. It looks like we're at about 64% participation. And so far, ooh, it's neck and neck. 43% of folks are interested in grouping images. And then we got 42% aligning your images. But that's really tied with isolating your images as well.
Okay. So let me take a look. Oh, there we go. Okie dokie. So I'm going to try to breeze through and maybe cover a couple of different things in this section for you. So the first slide I have here is on isolating your images. So we have, oops, so we have this scene. It was a group, and I show you how to take like, oh, maybe I just want this lamp from it, or maybe I just want this plant from it. So I'm gonna pull my non presentation mode over here for you, and just kind of quickly go through the instructions here. So all the instructions are here, and then a ton of slide notes. But essentially, when you want to isolate an image, so you can see this is a grouped image. It's an entire scene. I move it around and it's there. And say I just want this lamp. And so what I'm going to do, because I'm sorry, I'm going to make this a little smaller because I can move this. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I can move this over here onto the side canvas here. And so what you are going to want to do is you've got your image clicked on, and you're going to go up to your picture format tab and you're going to crop. So you're going to crop this image as close as you can to the element that you want to isolate. So if you wanted to isolate this lamp, you're going to crop your image as close to the lamp as you can. And then you just have the lamp here, but we want to remove the background. So we're going to go over here. We're still in our picture format tab all the way to the far left and say remove background. And I don't know why it did that. My God, why did it bring that whole image? Why is it doing that? I don't know why it's doing that. Usually it doesn't do that. I'm sorry about that. So here we have our image. And what we want to do is we want to mark our areas to keep. Usually the whole image doesn't have everything there to keep, but I can tell up here we're missing part of the lamp um, thing. We're missing some down here. And sometimes this is a little bit finicky. Things come in and out as you try to get things really filled in right. And you just kind of have to keep playing with it, going back and forth. And then if we escape out of that, here we have our image and it's isolated now. And you can layer it, you can put it on top of anything, you can combine it with other images. And so that's a little bit about how you can isolate the background on your image. Okay, aligning your images. I'm going to move out here. So this is where you want these things or these things, oops, sorry, um, your your different elements to be really snapped into shape and aligned. And so let me misalign some things. So we have these things and they're not aligned. So we want to click on all of them. And so we're going to hold down our shift key so that we get all of them clicked. And we're going to come up here to our shape format tab again. So we've highlighted these. So our shape format tab opens. we're going to come over here to align, this align section right here, and we're going to pick where we want it to be aligned. And let's just say, let's align right. Now, all of these snapped into um, to the same place that the 4 was on the right. And if we want to move them back out a little bit, we have them all selected. So we're just going to use our arrow key on our keyboard and we're going to move them back out a lot. And so when I figured this out, it saved me so much time. I would spend hours trying to get everything perfectly aligned. Uh, and it would be the slightest off, and I would know it, but I couldn't get it quite all snapped together. So this little tip has saved me so much time. You can align right, left, center, vertical, horizontal, and it really helps uh, save some time on your PowerPoint. Okay, so now we're gonna go. I lost my cursor. Okay, why? It's like my cursor isn't showing up really well. Grouping images was the other one. Okay. So grouping images is super important. It allows you to move your images around on your slide canvas, but also it helps tremendously with accessibility. And so here we have a scene here, and these were all individual things I plucked from a larger canvas, from a larger picture. We have our garbage can and our office chair and our file cabinet. Um, and if I wanted to use these together, and keep them just like this, what I'm going to need to do, so down here, they're all different. And so you're going to click on each one, get them all selected. Then you're going to come up, oh, you're going to, sorry, right click on them, and then you're going to go to group. And when you do that, it now groups them all together. And they're one thing that you can move around. I group everything. I group everything now. Because if I like, say I had this in the middle and then I kind of come back, I'm looking at the slide again, I'm like, oh, that's just not quite exactly where I want it. I want it to a little to the left or a little to the right. If they're not grouped, then I have to grab them all individually and try to move them. And with some complex different groupings, that can take a lot of time. So grouping really also helps save you time. Okay, where are we on time?
It looks like we just have a few minutes left, Jeannie, for Q&A, but if you want to take some of that time to close out, we can definitely do that.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of show you what's left here in the PowerPoint that you can come back to and take a look at. So I have a creating infographics session, and I go through a use of stock photos and icons. So if you're in an agency that does not allow you to download from the web on all those sites that I gave you for the free pictures, you can download, you can include stock images and photos that are kind of built into PowerPoint through Microsoft. And if you come up here to the Insert tab, you can either go here to icons, but you can also go here to pictures and come down here and click stock images. And they have a lot of stock images in here for you. And this isn't downloading external content, like it's built in. So you can use this. And you can search for something, let's just say gear, and you've got pictures of gears, and then you can go up to icon and you've got icons of gears. And so you just click on these and you say insert, and there it comes down into your presentation. And you can use it and you can recolor them just by, going up to the graphics format tab here and your graphics fill or your graphics outline, so you can recolor these as well. So I've created some infographics for you then. This is all inspiration I got online. These are here for you to use. So if you're like, Jeannie, I don't have time to do this PowerPoint stuff, I've got you covered. I've got some slides in here that you can grab and take and use in your presentation. And all of the instructions on how to use this in your presentation are down here in the slide notes. And again, my cursor just like is invisible and I don't know what happened, but trust me, it's all in the slide notes. And so you can remove this business infographic inspiration piece. You can add your own content in here and so on and so forth. And so if we move down, let because my cursor's gone. I kind of show you how to do it yourself too. I'm not going to go into that, but I have a step-by-step here on how I created that visual. I've got a process layout for you. I've got some things about shape outline options for you. I've got a puzzle infographic that was a pencil point at the end. I thought was kind of cute, and I show you how to make that. And then I just have a bunch of templates. So I show you here how to copy slides between presentations. So you can go into this presentation and copy slides and pull it into your presentation. And then I just have a bunch of other infographics here that you are welcome to use in your presentations. And then I included all the graphics I used. So down here are all the graphics. You don't have to download those. You can use these straight out of this presentation, copy them into your presentation. You do need to attribute Stephanie 2212 via free pick, but all of the graphics I used are here. And then just finishing up, I kind of showed you where I got some of my web inspiration for making these infographics. And these aren't great quality in terms of like I can tell they're a little blurry, but you can kind of get the gist of I just went out on the web, I searched creative PowerPoint slides, I got inspiration from these things, and then I may reproduce them into my own and made them, um, copied them and recreated them. Okay, so that is the end of the PowerPoint presentation that I have for you today.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. And just also thank you so much for providing all of these tools that folks can use just in case, like you said, hey, I don't have the time to create this. It's really fun to actually play with, but might not have the time. She's got it all here for you. I know we're right at time, but we did have just one question in the chat. Oh, we have a couple questions. But a few questions on building in accessibility. Have you found a good process for building in accessibility from start to finish when you're creating your presentations?
Yes. And that kind of relies heavily on making sure you use the PowerPoint slide options that are available to you. So I'm actually going to try to pull this back over now. So when you go up here and you say, I want a new slide, always choose a slide with a title. Number one, accessibility requires you to have a slide title. You can move that title up into this top canvas piece, but you need to have a slide title. So if you were to come, I used to do this all the time. I'd create blank slides and I just choose blank because I wanted my blank canvas. And it's really challenging with accessibility. So if you use the pre-built slides here in PowerPoint, it's going to help you with that accessibility. Um, when you do accessibility, it helps you. One of the things it does is it trains you to make sure the slide content is in order from top down, left to right. So if you like build a component of your PowerPoint slide in the bottom right, but then you go back up to the top left, that bottom right is actually going to be in the reading order above the the top left where you want people to maybe start. And so think about creating your slides top down, left to right, and that's going to help you in that accessibility of making sure things are in the right reading order. Grouping helps a lot. Group your images so you don't have to go in and do um, um, you don't want to necessarily, if you have a grouped image, go in and on each individual thing say, this is decorative, or say, this is a picture of a lamp. Maybe you want to say, this is a scene of a, typical office with these components to it, instead of like, if why am I losing the words? What is it when you go in and you
The alt
describe the,
text.
yeah, the alt text for the pictures. Thank you. So grouping helps really reduce that alt text for pictures. I would recommend doing your alt text for pictures slide by slide as you move through your presentation and not save it all up to the end. And so let PowerPoint help guide you. And that does reduce the accessibility burden at the end going back through your presentation. I have created monsters. I have created really big, huge PowerPoint monsters. And when you do your own accessibility checking as well, using the PowerPoint accessibility checker, which is right here in the review section, check accessibility. When you go through and do your own accessibility, you learn a lot too about how to construct slides that are accessible.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I know we couldn't go through every slide today, but Jeannie does have some great tips on also being mindful of colors when you're picking colors and patterns for your slides and data graphics. So I wish we had a full hour today, but we so appreciate you, Jeannie. I hope you have some time to hang out today. There's some great feedback for you in the chat. We loved the choose your own adventure. Method today. And I think there is just one question if you have a moment to talk about making your own infographics if you have a chance. But thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. And again, all the notes and just the instructions for each of these topics that we couldn't cover today are in this PowerPoint on our website. So you all will have it in case you need to use anything for your own presentations or just want to go back and take a look at some of those topics we couldn't get to today. So thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Talia, if you could drop my email in the chat, feel free to email me if you want 5 minutes to walk through something. I'm happy. I'm here for you.
Love that. Thank you, Jeannie. All right. Well, we have our next presentation. I'm super excited to introduce our special guest today, Marthajane Vincent, or MJ. MJ is a senior coach with the Arizona Government Transformation Office. I'm super excited to have her here to share all about Arizona's management system, which is an outcomes-driven approach that is intentionally centered around the people who do the work within their state government. So super excited again. Martha Jane, thank you so much for being here and take it away.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I'm excited to be here as well. Let's see, I'm going to request to share my screen. Maybe it will let me now. Let's see. So yes, my name is Marthajane Vincent. I am better known by most of the state of Arizona as MJ Vincent, and you can even find me that way when you search in our email system because people don't know my whole name. I'm just MJ. So I've been with GTO for 3 years. This is the Government Transformation Office. And prior to that, I spent a couple of years at Albertsons Companies doing change management for a big software conversion that company had going on, which was my one divergence from state service, because prior to that, I was with the Department of Transportation here in Arizona for 9 years, doing lots of different things, very employee engagement focused work. And when we brought the Arizona Management System, which is our continuous improvement program here to Arizona, they asked, did I know anything about lean? And I said, no, I don't know a single thing about lean. They said, well, would you like to learn? So I got a crash course from a consultant company that was hired to teach the state about continuous improvement. And I was lucky enough to be working with folks who had worked at Toyota. And as many of us know, Toyota is kind of the grandfather of lean or continuous improvement in many ways. So I had a great education and opportunity to see and be a part of the original rollout of AMS, and it's evolved a lot over the years. So that's what we're going to go through today and really talking about how we brought the people-centered focus of continuous improvement to the forefront. It was always a part of our management system, but with our governor's transition to a new governor, she really wanted to see this people-centered focus brought forward. So what you see on the screen is really Governor Hobbs' message or vision for state government. It's the what at a high level we're trying to accomplish as a statewide system. So we're going to talk about how she breaks this down into some priority areas for her agencies to focus on and how AMS fits into this. So if you consider that people-centered government is the what, AMS is the how. So it's important to think about, these people-centered systems and people being the center of everything we do, both from an employee standpoint, if we don't care for and support our state employees, they can't provide the best service to our citizens. And how are we thinking about what our citizens need and want? So that's kind of the premise for the whole thing. And this is AMS, our kind of elevator speech, if you will. So how we define the management system. So breaking that down just a little bit, the intentional outcomes driven approach. So this is a focus on strategic planning, making sure that the most important priorities are achieved. So using driver metrics, results metrics to track progress. We have some pretty sophisticated systems to do that with. But that really doesn't get us to the culture part, right? So that second piece of this statement is talking about that. So in discussing every employee at every level being empowered to improve the lives of the people we serve. So thinking about our foundational elements that we'll talk about in just a minute, and really talking about the behaviors of AMS versus the tools of AMS or continuous improvement. And how do we marry those things together to create the culture that we want to see? So problem solving, waste elimination, these are embedded in everything we do. And we're trying to seek that we ensure our employees have what they need to serve our citizens. So that's sort of as I said, the elevator speech of how we are achieving this people-centered government and improving the services to Arizonans. So Governor Hobbs outlined 7 priority areas that you will see in that rainbow graphic. Historically, from the beginning, AMS has been focused on helping agencies be efficient, effective, achieving their missions. And there's been tremendous success around that over the years. We've seen tens of thousands of agency improvements, really exciting stuff. And we wanted to encourage people to continue on that track, continue looking at their metrics and driving improvement. But we really also wanted to scale back to the original foundation of continuous improvement, which is respect for people, to really focus on that people-centered approach. But these are the goals that are driving this why. Why do we need a management system? And the way that the governor's office maintains a view of how the management system is impacting both the employees and the citizens is through a data-driven metric system. So I know this slide is terrible, especially after watching Jeannie's great presentation. I was like, oh, my slides are awful. Anyway, but this is the kind of sort of sophisticated data gathering mechanism that we use. And I just wanted to give you a snapshot of this. This is not the live version of it. And you'll see in the middle that the colors are absolutely associated with those 7 colors that you saw on the chart in the slide ahead. And then beyond that, we are really not colorblind friendly, but using the red, yellow, green system of green, the metric is on track, yellow, it's in danger, red, things have gone wrong. The blue and the gray that you see in this is the data isn't complete. So this was the very beginning. We're about 4 months into this system, and the new screenshot definitely shows more green, more yellow and more red, less blue and gray. But this way, the governor's office and their operations staff is able to drill down. So in a live system, these middle section is the 7 priority areas. And then from there, it goes out to 10-year outcomes from agency strategic plans. Then the next ring is 5-year outcomes. And the next ring is 1-year initiatives. So how are these things all connecting back up? And you can click and drill down into each agency's metrics. So this is a tool not only for the governor's office, but also for each agency to see how they're performing and how they can collectively come together to meet these goals. And that's something that's new for our state. So that's interesting, and it gives, again, a view of how we're using visual management, not only at the agency level, but at the governor's office level to maintain an eye on how we are improving. So this is a little bit of history. So this continuous improvement program being started in 2012, we've seen some amazing examples. And those are just a few really exciting ones that we like to kind of hold up. And I'm going to share our website that's public facing with you so you all can see and read some stories, watch some videos about some of these great projects. But these are the three that we really like to make sure we're paying attention to. So the first one is the Department of Child Services, reducing their inactive case backlog from 16,200 to 178 using continuous improvement. The ADOT MVD is in the middle. So this is the DMV for your state, probably. We reverse our letters for some reason in Arizona. The wait times at urban MVD centers were an hour, 3 hours, sometimes it's the stereotypical MVD. We've transformed that in Arizona. And you'll see the wait times under 30 minutes. Average wait times are 11 minutes right now at our MVD offices in our most urban centers. So really amazing success, all based on continuous improvement work and really involving the employees there. And the last one is our Department of Environmental Quality moving 25% of their services online. So reducing issue identification timelines from 2 months to 2 days. So this is all through agency leadership, sponsoring these projects, giving their employees the empowerment to try and fail. And that takes real courage. And that's where we start talking about culture. So that's where I'm going to get into next. But a little bit moving to the behavioral impact of AMS. So our state uses an employee engagement survey that comes from our statewide HR to gauge, how are things going for employees, trying to improve retention and things of that nature. So since implementing AMS, we've seen a sharp increase in the employee engagement scores. So we're constantly pointing out to leadership that these two things really work together to give them data on how to improve, both for their employees and their customers. So we see that these metrics showing that the employee engagement scores are really being impacted, and we can correlate that directly to, is your agency implementing AMS? And if they are, their engagement scores are consistently better than those agencies that are less advanced at their implementation. We don't mandate AMS. It is strongly encouraged. But if an agency decides we don't want to use that system, that's okay. They are still responsible for those metrics that go with the rainbow chart, but they don't have to use AMS. But I would say that of our 34 cabinet agencies, there are probably only 2 that aren't actively engaged at this point. So that's pretty good outcome there. So these are the foundational elements of the system. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I think these are things that most of you all recognize as, part of your own continuous improvement programs. But we do measure and assess how agencies are doing. It's a self-assessment, mostly to help them, again, improve. So these are the things that we assess, and we'll talk about how we do that in just a little while. But you'll see that we've got continuous improvement called out as its own element. But if you look at those bullet points, you'll see, if you're familiar with continuous improvement, well, those other things are all part of continuous improvement. And that's true, right? Obviously, strategic outcomes, problem solving, scorecards and metrics, operations or business reviews. This would be Hoshin Conry, if you're familiar with the Japanese terms, employee manager one-on-ones. All of these things are continuous improvement when you look at those definitions. But it's just a way to break it down for our measurement system, essentially. So when we're talking about culture and how AMS speaks to building the culture that we want, I love this quote from Recoding America. It's a great book if you're interested in these sorts of things. Culture eats policy. And this is a quote that's been repeated, I think, from many different leaders. It does not matter how well your strategic plan is written. If your team doesn't have the appropriate culture, If your agency isn't willing to kind of fail fast and try new things, your strategic plan will fall flat, right? You have to have that culture to back it up, because it's the people who execute the strategy. So looking at the blue culture triangle in the center, every agency has a culture. Every state government has a culture. It exists whether we want it to or not. It's these shared beliefs, values, practices that both define and distinguish us as organizations. So around that, we have mindset, behaviors, and outcomes. And these are all three components of our management system. So it's about embodying this kind of default mindset and behaviors from those bullets that we talked about in the slide before, to create the kind of outcomes we want for our folks. So if we leave this to evolve freely over time, culture can kind of be an odd mix, right, of both habitual behaviors, like I said, and we've always done it this way kind of behaviors that might not produce exactly what we're looking for. So around the triangle, we've got the elements of our system, and our approach is that we can be intentional by using AMS, not only the tools, but the thinking and the behavior to create the culture that we want. So when we're talking about how we do this, our office is kind of the holder of AMS for the state. So we advise the governor's operations staff in how the use of AMS is going to achieve those goals from the Rainbow List. And we advise the agencies on how to operationalize AMS. So we coach the leadership. And the continuous improvement staff. We offer trainings, workshops, one-on-one coaching. We all have a portfolio, so each one of the 5 of my team members have agencies assigned to them that we meet with monthly to help move them forward in the implementation of AMS. So very much meet them where they are approach. So some are very engaged with us, others are less, and we're just constantly building relationship in order to move this stuff forward. So we really start with helping people understand the thinking and principles behind continuous improvement. It is, widely known continuous improvement, or lean, and we hope that our employees are learning things that they can carry forward with them regardless of where they're employed. But we're really asking people to start with, why are we asking you to work this way or think this way? And it's about creating that culture. So we have to start somewhere, and that is where we ask people to start, is with this thinking and these 3 mindsets, if you will. So process and results, right? If our process informs our results, our total system. So let's not work just solely in our own team or division, but let's think about the whole system, the whole agency, and at my level, the whole state system. When we're making improvements or suggesting things that we might change, how is that going to impact others? And then, of course, respect for people. As I've said, this respect for people has always been part of our management system, and really thinking about being tough on process, but kind to individuals, because people get very attached to their work. So working through those behaviors, helping folks understand and begin their operationalizing of AMS with this thinking. It's more than just the tools, it's the way we're approaching our work. Very much requires change management. So we work with them on creating a change mindset, first in their leadership team, and then asking them to filter that down through their agency, and thinking very much about a human hierarchy of how we create change, or how comfortable we are with it. Everyone comes into their workplace with their own set of experiences they've had from birth until today. And those things that have shaped who they are as an individual create the way they believe. And then that dictates how they act. And how we act, what we do in our work, creates the results that we see. So if we're asking people to change and be mindful of thinking about the whole system, to be mindful of that respect for people piece, and really thinking about, as leaders, how we create that culture, we have to start with creating experiences for our people so that they believe that we value problem solving, for example, and they will then take action to be brave enough to say, hey, I think this process might be broken. Let's improve it. Okay? So we have to instill this in our leaders, that it's their responsibility to create these experiences. And it can be hard. I'll use the MVD project as an example because that was really my very first learning project. And so it's old, right? That improvement started 10 years ago. So I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. The wait times being 3 hours at one point was something that no one wanted to admit. They said, oh no, we can't look at the MVD because there's nothing that can fix that, right? Only money, only more employees. And they did not want to use that as their first AMS breakthrough project because it was embarrassing, right? That those leaders had to dig deep and be very humble in order to say, team members at the office, we're going to pilot this program. You're allowed to try anything you want. We're going to listen to every suggestion. And we're going to get really realistic about what we can do and what we can't do. We're going to be so realistic that we're willing to look at the state statutes that say what MVD is required to do by law, and really examine what do those things mean in order to make some really deep improvements. And the team members, they did not believe that that was true. Continuous improvement asks that we have subject matter experts who are the very closest to the work involved. And we did that. But those team members at our MVD office had maybe never met the director of MVD, much less been asked to sit at a table with him and do problem solving and really say out loud what the real problems were. And so they had to come to that with a very humble point of view and say, it's okay, we're going to talk about these problems and we're going to see what we can do to really solve the problems that the actual employees see as being the most impactful to the fact that the wait times are so long. And they did that with great success, and it completely changed the culture. And they have continued to employ continuous improvement in their division to great success. So it's a personal example because I was there, so I can talk about it, where they created an experience for people where they believed, in fact, that they could change, and then they were able to take action and see those results. So I think it's one of our greatest successes, but there's many examples like that where AMS has really worked to change not only what we provide for our citizens, but how we care for and respect the people who do the work. So it's exciting. I'd love to talk more about MVD, but I'm definitely going to want to share this graphic with you, which is a correlation. And there's a PDF where you'll get to see all of the employee engagement questions and how the AMS elements relate to those things, because we're really trying to help our leadership see and understand, again, how these things work together. So we'll share that graphic with you as some kind of bonus content. So some actionable strategies that we share with folks. This is a high-level list, and this is kind of an example of how we offer opportunities for our leadership, for our upper management across Arizona to come together and both continue learning about these tools, elements, and behaviors and practice them, work in communities of practice to continue operationalizing what they do and learning from one another. So we offer leadership development work. We offer at least one class a week on some topic around this, whether that's a leader coming to speak about how they implemented a certain thing, or if it's one of us doing an introductory teaching or a deeper level teaching. We offer water coolers where it's a more casual environment where people can come and just talk about their experiences. This is, of course, all virtual for the most part. Although we have started doing our community of practice meeting, which is similar to what you all are here today doing. All of the practitioners from all the agencies, once a month, we offer an in-person opportunity to get together there. So that's just a little bit of what we do to continue to support this culture of people-centered government and how we support our agencies in doing that, how we encourage them. So I told you I would get into the measurement just a little bit. So again, we have a sophisticated system of data gathering, both at the priority level area and at the AMS area. So it's in the same system. It's called QuickBase and Tableau. Many of you are familiar with Tableau. We have that attached to it as well. So this is just an example of the twice yearly self-assessment that all of our agencies take. And most of them have pushed this all the way down to the team level. So it isn't just one person answering for the whole agency. It's at the individual division or team level that a manager is answering these questions. So for each element of the system, we ask if they have standard work for the element. What is their level of awareness and understanding? Are they consistent? Is their team consistent in the application of the standard work? So just because we have it doesn't mean we use it well, right? And does the team exhibit the behaviors of this element and see positive results? So again, the customer of this system is the leadership of the agencies so that they can see and use this information to continue moving their culture forward. And it breaks itself all the way down to the team level. So again, they can drill down and see how's everybody doing. This year, we introduced a new element, which is an action planning requirement. So every team that takes the assessment is required to identify one AMS area that they'd like to improve over the next year and create an action plan. The agencies are allowed to implement that in any way they want. So we don't dictate, you have to turn it in a certain way. But it is a statewide requirement now that they create an action plan around one of their areas. So that's just a little high level of what we're doing. And I wanted to share the newest part of AMS, which is celebrating success. Again, this respect for people and ability to celebrate our accomplishments has always been part of the Arizona management system. But with our current Governor Hobbs, they really wanted to, if they were asking the agencies to do that actively and measure their ability to celebrate success within their agency, that we'd better do it from the governor's office level as well. So we created the Excellence in Government Awards. This is the first ever recognition program from the governor's office level, where the governor actually celebrates the achievements of her agencies on a monthly basis. I'll show you the criteria in a second. And then we had a big awards program at the end of the year where we handed out awards. And you see the governor there in her green as she was there. Very rarely has the Arizona governor gotten this close to state employees in a recognition sort of a manner, beyond a press conference or something to celebrate a big accomplishment. Not that these accomplishments weren't big, because they were, but maybe not press worthy, right? So we're really excited that she was so engaged and handed out all the awards herself, and people were really, really enthusiastic. So this trophy you'll see is going to be roving. The Department of Environmental Quality won it this year. And then next year they'll have to bring it back and we'll have a new peg for the new winner. But I just wanted to share with you what those program criteria are. If you're curious as to what we're celebrating and how, everyone who submits a success gets an automated email from our director's office, the Government Transformation Office director. And then we have a committee. I run a committee of governor's communications and operations staff and constituent engagement employees to review the successes. All the agencies are required to turn in one a month. So we get a lot. They turn in more than one a month, and we review them and decide to what recognition they're going to receive. So it's either a personal email to the team members of the project, copied to the director, of course, from the governor's operations lead. So that director sends those emails, or they will receive a personal note card from the governor herself. And that's a note card for each team member on the project, and it also comes with a State Parks and Trails annual pass for each team member. So we send those out to the director of the agency so that they can award them and take part in that recognition. So that's the new program, Excellence in Government, and I'll share the website with you all if you want to go check out what everyone turned in and what some great successes over this last year have been. That's a public-facing website. So once I click out of this, I'll pop it in the chat. But that is kind of an overview of what the AMS how AMS has evolved and kind of how we focus on building culture. And I'd love to take any questions that you all might have about how we're doing and what we're doing.
Yes, there are lots of questions. A lot of folks interested in just how you've been able to create this system, MJ. But first, I have to say, I hope you get a chance before the meeting ends to take a look at the chat because a lot of kudos coming your way.
Awesome.
Yes, yes, yes. But a couple questions that did come through the chat, and we definitely, it looks like we have a few minutes, and we can use a little bit of a round robin time for that as well. But a lot of folks were interested, and maybe you did mention this, but just to, go over that again. What is the tool that you use for AMS? Is it a SaaS tool? I know you mentioned Tableau, but just curious about the tool for your AMS and if there was a particular software or system that your organization used to track metrics and allow for
It
transparency.
is. So statewide, we use a software called QuickBase. And it is very sophisticated. It requires people to really be trained in how to use it, which is maybe not why it's maybe not my favorite, but it's very sophisticated data gathering and really excellent for people who want to dive into those analytics. And then we have, over the last year and a half, we've attached Tableau to it. So it pulls from QuickBase and creates those nice graphs that I showed that are easier to understand than what you're going to get out of QuickBase. So that has been our state data analytics office, who created those and maintains those, working closely with our strategic planning and budgeting office. And that's kind of who owns that QuickBase system. And both our statewide priority measurements and our AMS measurements are all in that same software.
Thank you so much. We had a question on the change mindset. So I just wrote down actually a great note. I loved that slide and just your explanation of just how leaders are responsible for creating that experience, and how that has such a just a trickle effect for employees. And the question that came through, what did they do to convince the leaders of their responsibility to create those experiences?
Well, for the MVD 10 years ago, it was a real challenge. As I said, they said, no, 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 we're not doing the MVD. We can't fix the MVD. Right? There was very much this mindset of it's impossible without a huge technology solution, without 15,000 more employees, we'll never do it. So it really took the consultants, the folks from Toyota, who said Toyota thought they couldn't do it either, right? Honeywell thought they couldn't do it either. Right? You are not the first one to have a fully broken system. You can do it. And if you are going to embrace continuous improvement, you must allow your people to try and fail. We might do this project and you'll still have a 3-hour wait time at the MVD. They said, you won't. We know we can fix this with you. Right? So it just took that trust and honestly, the vision from statewide leadership to say, we are going to implement continuous improvement. We will try. You are required to try, right? To just kind of dig deep. And in the end, it turned out so fantastically, right? But it's still to this day, right? I've said we've been doing this since 2012. Leadership changes, right? You have to continuously teach that change mindset slide that you liked, right? You can't say those words to too many people too many times. Keep teaching that same slide and we'll share it with you. And there's good notes in that one. The rest of them are a little, but there's great notes in that. And please feel free to steal exactly what that says, because you have to continue reiterating that leadership is responsible for creating these experiences. And that can sometimes feel very hard.
Absolutely. I think Kiana has her hand raised. Did you have a follow-up question or wanted to add to that, Kiana? Maybe it was a ghost hand. No worries. Awesome. I think we have time for one more question. that also came through just regarding just process improvements. Do you have a mechanism for employees to share their process improvements, ideas? And if so, can you share a little bit with us about how that works?
Sure. So each agency absolutely has their own. So there, I'll use ADOT as an example. Again, I'm closest to them because I worked there for so many years, but they have like a Kaizen reporting thing, right? Where it's like, hey, we did this little improvement. Maybe it could be shared and done in other divisions or in other offices. And then on a statewide level, it is that success program. So in addition to the projects that won the Excellence in Government Award, we also gave out 4 awards for excellent operations of AMS, right? Where people turned in their actual problem-solving documents and we celebrated them for those particular projects. So that's the mechanism, is the awards program for the most part. But again, each agency has their own, and they encourage folks to turn in not only ideas, but also, again, those small improvements that they've done in order to spread them across the agency.
Awesome, wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for MJ while we have her here? Feel free to come off mic or
And feel free to reach out to me if there's a particular part of this that you wanted to learn more, dive into. Happy to do that with any of you. Yes, Kiana wants to relocate. Bring her on. There's going to be a couple jobs opening up here in the summer.
yes, the
We
summer.
don't want to steal. Plus, the summer. Ooh, it's
Mhm.
rough around here in the summer.
Such a beautiful state. Thank you so much, MJ, for sharing just about the AMS. Like MJ said, feel free to reach out if you have any follow-up questions, or want to learn a little bit more. So we just appreciate you taking some
Thanks
time
so
out of your
much for
day,
having me. It was
to
great to come. I
share.
love talking about AMS. It's my passion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could listen to you all day. You not only are you soothing, but you make it feel achievable and attainable, and that it's possible. So appreciate you so much. All right. Yes, Sandra just asked for MJ's contact information. We will absolutely put that in the chat for you all so you can connect with her.
And I
We
did share Results AZ in the chat as well, so you guys can go watch the cool videos that we made for the latest awards ceremony and see some of the other successes.
What a fun program. Well, we have about 5 minutes left. Just want to open it up for folks if you would like to share. If you've had any kind of takeaways from our presentations today, for PowerPoint or the AMS system, um, any experience with any of those things that you wanted to share, any challenges, successes that you've had, that you want to just kind of pass on to the team. I'll open it up for folks to chime in for a little deeper. While we're waiting, Talia did drop MJ's email in the chat. Thank you so much, Talia. So definitely feel free to reach out. Does anybody have any projects that they're working on, that they need to bounce any ideas off of folks? Any barriers that you're experiencing that you want to pitch to the team? All right, here we go. It sounds like everyone's ready to take what they learned today and go forth and conquer. So